Premier, your Justice Minister tabled a bill today about committees to investigate deaths of children and victims of domestic violence. And I wonder, given the significance of what you're proposing, if it's appropriate for members to be debating those bills when they haven't seen the regulations yet, which contain a lot of details that go along with them.
Listen, this is the first step. It's not uncommon that we would go through a situation where a bill would be debated, regulations become part of that as we go forward. So this is no different. The reality of it is, I think most people agree the fact that it's time for this bill to be introduced and the minister to get on with doing the work associated with it.
Do you think this maybe highlights a problem with that system of introducing a piece of legislation and including many of the details in regulations so that legislators are not able to debate it?
No, I think there's ongoing work that would happen with technical expertise behind the scenes that would be part of that. It's not uncommon, and just want to make sure the minister gets on with doing the bill.
He has said that things are so close, he hopes to have the committees ready before the end of the year. Given how close you are, what's the argument for not waiting until the spring when the public and legislators can see the entire substance of the bill and its regulations to then debate it?
I think the reality of it is the bill should have been brought forward before today. It is being brought forward. The minister is responding to that. When the regulations come in, we'll communicate that to Nova Scotians and all those involved, and begin to make sure we enact the legislation.
How much information do you think should be released to the public from these reviews?
It's my hope that as much as possible will be released. Only thought we rounded, obviously these are very sensitive issues. That would be private information, but it would be my hope that as much as possible. That's why I'm looking forward to the debate that will take place, and members will have a chance to ask the minister about that. But I think one of the things, one of the rationales behind this is really to find out, first of all, what actually happened in these individual cases, and we need to make sure we protect the privacy of those people, but also what are the lessons learned and how do we move forward. So it would be my hope that as much of that information as possible will be released.
Premier, yesterday a lobbyist for the plastic industry was here saying that your bill to ban bags will actually hurt the environment more than simply continuing to do what you do. So I wondered what your thoughts are on that.
Well, listen, we're grateful to have all party support. The issue of banning plastic bags, we don't always get universal support on these issues. They have a point of view from the industry that it represents. We believe we're doing the right thing, as you know, and I spoke, and another member spoke from the House. This is just the beginning on how we deal with the issues of plastic.
Are you open to banning straws, banning cutlery, as others have suggested?
We'll certainly be looking at that. That's part of the process that we'll be going through. We thought, though, we acknowledged that plastic bags, which we heard from a lot of Nova Scotians, when that happened, we were getting a particular division in depending on what municipality you're in. Municipalities were trying to deal with the issue specifically about plastic bags. We felt it was best to put the provincial piece across. That's what we did, but the bill will allow other pieces of plastic to be banned as well.
Why aren't we ready to say, okay, also straws and cutlery?
I think there's still ongoing work. The reality of it is there was much movement ahead already on the plastic bag piece. That's why that is being put out today.
What do you make of a progressive conservative member accusing a Crown Corporation of political advertising?
Listen, the reality of it is the ad was not running during a campaign. And if you go back, look at the ad, they're investing in a community event, not a particular candidate. I think the candidate was wearing an orange shirt with the Tide Fest written across it, promoting the event they were in. Part of, it's nothing new. Atlantic Lotto invests in communities across the province. If they have an issue with that, they should actually call Atlantic Lotto and tell them not to invest in the things that are important in their communities. I believe Atlantic Lotto is doing tremendous work in terms of supporting community organizations from one end of the province to the other, and I look forward to continuing to do so.
Have you set a date yet for your trip to China?
No.
Is the intention that you will still go to China before Christmas this year?
Yeah, my hope is, I don't have a specific date, but my hope is it's early November. It all depends on when I get up here.
Are you, I know we've talked about this in the past, but are you in any way concerned or troubled by what you see going on over there right now, particularly as it relates to Hong Kong, and whether or not it would be appropriate to go over there and do business with them while those events are playing?
Of course, you're concerned not only what's going on in Hong Kong, what's happening globally when it comes to some of the violence that we're seeing erupt in different parts of the world, places where we do business. Of course I am, but we need to go over, continue to connect those ties, drive economic opportunities for the private sector and ensure that we're maximizing markets that will provide good paying jobs, and many of them are all Nova Scotia, the support that we're getting. But of course, concerned about the safety of what's happening there. I think highlights the importance of why we need to continue to go, continue to be demonstrating the importance of governance that we have when we go in. That's why we continue to want to welcome more Chinese students to Nova Scotia, continue to offer post-secondary education.
Are we too deeply invested at this point to not go? In other words, does so much of our fishery hinge on China buying from us that to not go would put that relationship and thus the industry at risk?
They're certainly an important trading partner for us. There's no question about that. But we've diversified our trading issue for the very thing you're describing. In the oil sector, we have one customer. Yet much of the energy sector, we have one customer. It's more so. We looked at trade diversification in 2013. We're actually into Europe now, continuing to promote growth of exports into Europe. That we think is an important thing. We need to make sure that we're not relying on one particular market. The fact that we've been able to maintain a stable price for seafood into the winter months has been because we've had diversification, not just relying on the U.S. market, a small part of Europe. What we've seen is that we've tried to support our work that's going on in the U.S., grow the China market at the same time. We're going to grow the European market. The minister's been there. That is actually the stable. Get prices at a stable throughout the year. That means more money for deckhands. It means more money for boat owners. It means more investment in those communities, and that's the whole plan was really around diversification.
What would it
Okay,
take
last
in
question.
terms of human rights violations and state aggression for Nova Scotia to sever ties with China?
Listen, the national government is working its way through dealing with national governments, not only here, one to the south, and ones to other parts of the world and their relationship. My job as the Premier of the province is continuing to make sure that I open up markets for the private sector to sell their products.
So could it get to a point where you would decide to pull out of your agreements with China?
That's a hypothetical situation. I'm going back to continue to promote the opportunity for private sector companies in this province to sell goods into the Chinese market.
Premier, what do you say to those who would see that message as saying that business trumps fundamental democratic rights?
I don't see that at all. I would say to you that isolation and protectionism has never worked. If it had worked, Cuba would be a very different place than it was in the 60s when the U.S. severed ties. The reality is we need to promote why we're proud of this country and the democracy that we have. I would say to you, the more international students who come to Canada recognize the rule of law, the governance that we have is one they'd like to see in their own country. I think what you're seeing in Hong Kong is a part of China that has seen a level of opening up. Those young people have seen what democracy is for them, and they don't want to change. They don't want to go back. That's what the demonstration is. So I think the more that we can demonstrate what it is to be in a democracy is a positive thing. The more we do economic ties related with that is a positive thing, not only for us as a government, but quite frankly for the private sector. It is the private sector that is growing good jobs in rural Nova Scotia here. I would also say to you that we've seen internal exports in Canada grow by about 1.2%. Nova Scotia has grown by 6.6%. At the same time, we're into those marketplaces. So it's not an either or. It's a question of going in to make sure that we promote the values that we have as a province, the opportunities that we have as a province, and the opportunities the private sector can benefit from being in these other markets.
You took a few questions about the Cape Breton hospital redevelopment. Can you give us any update on where that is at this point?
There were tenders that went out today around expanding the emergency room at the regional. The questions were actually highlighting the problem. The questions they were raising today is exactly why we're doing what we're doing. Healthcare providers have laid that out. The emergency room wasn't built for the capacity it's getting. The cancer center is half the capacity it should be. That's exactly why we're making these investments. The only thing the opposition could be complaining was the fact that we're late, where this should have been done a decade ago. It should have happened under the former Conservative government or the new Democratic government. These are not new problems on the island. They've been calling for doubling of the cancer care center now since I've been in the House, which is 16 years. We've made the investments. We'd like it to happen right now, but these investments will take time to build. The tenders are going out, and we're looking forward to their openings.
Thanks, Premier.
Thank you.